Siobhan.
Hey, everybody ready? Hey, meeting now.
I'm no longer brokenhearted. So glad I came here tonight.
Welcome, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to have you here. Francine, Andre, Ria, Way, Leighton, you guys. If you could, please go ahead and rename yourself. If you want to check in to see how you're feeling right now. If you don't know how to rename yourself, simply click on yourself. And then from there, just go ahead and put your full name, which you have, and then add how are you feeling right now. So go ahead and do that right now. As we wait, we'll be starting here the next couple minutes. Feel free to grab some water. Rain, we see your walk right now. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to grab a piece of paper, a pen to take notes. It's been a great time today. Rain said he's exhausted. I know you're there. But feel free. We're going to get started in a couple minutes. We're looking forward to a great afternoon together.
I'm so ready to get on it. You follow me, we'll be fine. And I'm in too deep, have I fallen?
If you haven't yet, please go ahead and rename yourself. Instructions are on the screen. If you're on your laptop or computer, you simply right-click on your profile, and then you can rename yourself. Go ahead and add in how you're feeling right now. So
I came here for love. Someone to hold me down. I won't give it up.
good afternoon, Shrike.
Shoot to reach out. I came here for love.
Please make sure you grab a piece of paper and a pen. We'll be doing an activity where we need you to grab a piece of paper and a pen. If you don't have access, okay, but if you can, grab a piece of paper and a pen together. Junior, thanks for adding how you're feeling. You're feeling indifferent yet creative. Christina's sharing that she's in the power saving mode. Okay, so don't do anything. We want you to stay on the entire meeting. So you don't have to turn your camera, no nothing. We want you to stay on the entire time. Abby, thanks for joining us. You just joined in. Please grab a piece of paper and pen. You can go and rename yourself by adding how you're feeling right now. Grab a paper, pen, some water, some food. Put it on your camera so we can see you. There we go. We see Andre. We see Leighton. Yes, happy Friday, Siobhan.
Boy, baby, do a leap and make them dance when they come on. Everybody looking for a dance floor to run on.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I could take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life.
Hi everybody, happy Friday. It's good to see everybody here today. It's March 4th, first week in March. We took a week off last week for all the conferences. I'm glad that you guys, everyone participated in that. And I'm glad to see you here today. We have a wonderful presenter here with us, coming to us from all over the world, where he travels and speaks to groups like ours, and is truly an inspirational person. Our speaker today, Juan Do, has been speaking professionally for over a decade, and Juan is the recipient of the Verizon Wireless Motivator Award, the acclaimed author of Succeeding in the Real World, and a city finalist in NBC's hit show American Ninja Warrior. You may have seen Juan while grocery shopping, as he was featured on Lay's chip bags. Nationwide is a part of the Smile with Lay's campaign. In addition to speaking, Juan enjoys constantly being mistaken for a college student. Recognized as one of the 25 most influential people in Seattle by Seattle Magazine. Please put your hands together, virtually or in real life, for our good friend, Wando, and make some noise.
Hey, what's happening, my friends? I'm curious, by show of hands, show of virtual hands, how many of you guys seen the show American Ninja Warrior? Awesome. How many of you guys have not seen the show? And how many of you think right now, bro, I'm looking at a screen. I'm not going to raise my hands regardless of what you say. Fair enough. Well, if you haven't seen the show, it is a physically demanding obstacle course ratio that has people doing crazy things like flying 10 feet above the ground or running up 14-foot curved walls. Now, it was a week before competing on the show, and I asked my coach, do you have any last minute tips for me? He said, yeah, don't get hurt. I'm thinking, thank you, Captain Obvious. As I go train, I land awkwardly, and what happens? I snap my ankle. I'm thinking, OMG, you've got to be kidding me. And all that went through my head was, Juan, your chance of competing on American Ninja Warrior is over. And the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because I feel that's a lot like life. You may not have to compete on American Ninja Warrior or go through an obstacle course, but in life, you're gonna encounter obstacles along the way. I mean, these last 2 years have been a unique experience for all of us. And we've dealt with many different adversities and challenges. And what I want you to realize is your ability to succeed as leaders at Hostos Community College, but also in life. It doesn't come down to your age, your skin color, your background, where you come from, but rather our ability to succeed as leaders, as individuals, comes down to how we handle obstacles when they arise in our lives. Now, I know all of you are a part of this incredible Student Leadership Academy, and you're going to gain real life skills that will help you in your time at Hostos Community College, but also in life. And just so that we're on the same page, when we think about leadership, one of my favorite quotes is a quote by John Quincy Adams, and he says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, you are a leader. My hope is that your understanding is that you realize you are a leader not because of what you do, any titles that you may hold. You're a leader because of who you are as an individual. There's people there that are looking up to you, whether it's family members, colleagues, coworkers. And what our time together is about is to share with you practical advice, things you can use today in your lives so that you can help more people to dream more, to learn more, do more, and to become more. And in our time together, my goal is really simple. I always want to share 3 things. Number 1 is I want to share a technique that will help you to develop resilience, that will help support you in changing your attitude when times get tough. You're going to understand a simple thing you can do daily to avoid burnout and overwhelm. And then lastly is you're going to determine the 3 most important relationships that will help support you through adversity. Now, as we jump into our time together, I want you to know I'm not here as a speaker to lecture to you. Why? Because, man, these last couple of years have been intense, whether it's being all virtual online, or as you guys are trying to figure out, is it going to be virtual and hybrid, part-time in person, or back to virtual? I mean, being in this environment, it's not fun. Same thing when you're in person to be talked at. So in a time together, I want you to think of me less as a speaker, but more as a friend. You know, like a funny, cool, amazingly good looking and humble friend that's just here to have a conversation. But to have a conversation, I'm going to need your help. There's going to be times I ask you to raise your hands. There'll be time I might ask you to unmute yourself and to share. And the reason why is because if we can have a conversation where we go back and forth, it's going to be a lot more fun than just sitting there and listening passively. And again, for those who are not on camera, if you have the ability to turn your cameras, please do. Because why? Because I can see every single one of you on my screen. I see Andre, I see Quay, I see Ryan, I see Francine. So here's the thing, just because we're in a virtual setting doesn't mean I can't see you. Don't make me call you out. So if you have a chance, please turn on your cameras. We want to see your face. I know Rand earlier was walking. I mean, he's turned his camera then. If you can, turn on your cameras. And then if you're some of you are thinking right now, Juan, but my place is a hot mess. I'm like, dude, don't sweat it, because check it out. My place is a hot mess too, right? We have all these wires down here, right? It's not perfectly clean. So don't feel all embarrassed because, hey, my place is messy too. So we got to see Quay there. We see Rhea, we see Rose. So if you can't turn your cameras, we want to see you. And if for some reason you're not, right, Ryan, you're at work, so don't sweat it. if you're not on camera, I do want you to know it's okay as well, because you might be on the run or you're at work or in a class or whatever it may be. If you can't turn on, I want you to know it's okay as well, because you're still a part of this conversation, right? You can engage in the chat box. We're still gonna have a great time together. But if you can, I see Takia there. If you can't turn it on, if not, it's perfectly fine too. But here's the thing, as we begin here, if you guys are up for making this more of a conversation where we're communicating with each other and less of me just talking at you, if you're up for that, do me a quick favor, would you? If you could, and you're at a quiet place, go and unmute yourself. Go and unmute yourself. I want you to put both hands out like this. Go ahead, put both hands out like this. I want you to motion at me like this. Go and say out loud, Juan.
Juan.
Let's have a conversation.
Let's
have a conversation.
Let's have a conversation.
Can't believe you guys actually did that. Now I'm kidding. Do me a favor, go and meet yourself. I say, you know, I'm excited to spend this afternoon with you. I'll be real, where I think this is, Jason can confirm via chat box, I think this is the 6th or 7th year. It's been a long time that I had the opportunity to connect with awesome students like yourselves from Hostos Community College. Prior to the pandemic, one of my highlights of the year was flying out to the Bronx, because it gave me a sense of grit, a sense of, you know, of my upbringing and where I came from, which I'll be talking about a little later. So I appreciate you hopping on, because I know we have people from all walks of life. We have parents, we have freshly graduated from high school. You guys have a lot on your plate. So for you to come and invest your afternoon, I don't take it lightly. Now, quick favor to ask, if you have a piece of paper, do me this favor. If you don't have a paper, enter in the chat box. But if you have a piece of paper and you're in camera, do me this favor. I want you to write down, what are you feeling, or what have you felt throughout these last couple of years as we have been through the pandemic? So when you think about these last 2 years, if you think of one word that describes how you felt, what would that one word be? If you are not in camera, let me know in the chat box. If you're on camera and you're writing down a piece of paper, write down that one word. And I want you to take that piece of paper and bring it up to the camera so I can know what that one word is for you. All right, Rhea, put it nice and close to you. I feel anxious. Thank you for sharing, Rhea. We got a lot of things from Sharike. Can you do even closer for me? I'm trying to see, but my eyeballs get out in your camera right now. Right, we got fearful, confusion. I believe that's overwhelmed. Right, awesome. Now, what I want you to realize, you feel blessed. Whatever you're feeling, loneliness, thank you for sharing that, Takia. I want you to know is whatever you have felt throughout this pandemic, it's not right and it's not wrong, it's what you feel. And something I've realized as we continue to overcome and work through the constant change that we are experiencing post when the pandemic first started, is that it can be challenging. But oftentimes people will say, you know, if you're going to be a great leader, you got to have a great attitude. You got to have a positive attitude. Do me a favor in the chat box, put Y for yes and for no. If you've heard that advice before, you know, if you're going through a challenging time, the key is to always have a positive attitude, right? We're seeing tons of yeses in the chat box. Rubio, Quay, Christina, thank you for engaging there. And I want you to realize this, if you're going through challenging times, it's okay. And really having a positive attitude all the time, that is the worst advice ever. Why? Because it's easier said than done. I mean, how many here, by show of hands, show of virtual hands, have ever had one of those weeks where anything that could go wrong went wrong? Show of hands, show of virtual hands. Some guys have been there, right? I see Quay, I see Sharika, I see Leighton, right? I see Abby, Rayon, right? Rose. So here's the thing, we have those days. And let's imagine that you have one of those weeks where everything that could go wrong, and one of your good friends comes up to you, they're like, hey, it's gonna be okay. Because you just need to have a positive attitude. And you're thinking, you just need to shut up. I know I need to have a positive attitude, but it's easier said than done, right? So trying to force ourselves to be positive all the time, it's not realistic. Number two, it's easier said than done. But number three is that oftentimes I'll meet people that put on a front, they put on a metaphorical mask and pretend that everything's okay in life when things aren't. I remember one of my best friends and I We were roommates together while going to college. And he came home one day and I knew something was wrong. Why? Because all of a sudden, boom, door slammed shut. He walks into a room, he takes his textbooks, launches it against the wall. I decided to turn around and check up on him. Yo, Chris, you okay? He was like, I'm fine. Obviously, you are. I noticed on the ground his cell phone broken in half. I'm thinking, bro, if that's what you do when you're feeling fine, let me know when you're feeling awesome. Because I don't want none of my stuff near you, okay? And after a couple minutes, he says, Juan, I'll be real with you. Man, school is just so challenging. My girlfriend and I have been fighting, and my parents and I, we haven't talked for a long time. Life's challenging. And what I want to share with you is when you go through challenges in life as leaders is to realize it's okay if you're not always positive. I think what is more beneficial, what will help you out more in life is to have an honest attitude. And what that means is having an honest attitude is number one, you always acknowledge how you feel. You don't ignore how you feel. Let me ask you guys, do me a favor, go to gallery view so we can all see each other. And let me ask you is by show of hands and show of virtual hands, how many of you throughout this school year have felt a little stressed because of all the things you are managing while going to school? Show of hands, nice and high, and virtual hands. I want you to take a look around gallery view and realize that you're not alone and it's okay that you feel that way. How many here are a little concerned because you're unsure of what you want to do after finishing your time at Hostos Community College? Career-wise, what you're going to plan to do. Show of hands, nice and high, virtual hands, right? I want you to take a look around gallery view and realize that you're not alone and it's okay that you feel that way. You see, what I want you to understand is we're all like soda cans. What happens is we go through life, life shakes us up. It's dealing with balancing school, work, and family. It's dealing with the continuous changes that are continue to happen because of the pandemic, which started a couple years ago. Life shakes us up, and the problem is that too many people hold in this stress inside. And like a soda can, show me, if you could, if you're on a camera, or let me know in the chat box, motion at me, what happens when you keep shaking a soda can and you don't release the carbonation and then you decide to open it? What happens to the soda can? Help me out here, right? Christina says it explodes, right? You guys are motioning your hands, explodes. That's what happens to too many people. So whenever you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, acknowledge how you feel. Because what I've realized is whatever you resist in life will continue to exist in life. Let me say that again. Whatever you resist will continue to exist. If you decide to put off that assignment from class and you'll watch Netflix, go hang out with friends, it's that assignment's still going to be there waiting for you. If all of a sudden there's some tension between a family member or a close friend and you don't clear out that air, that tension's not going to disappear. It's only going to grow. So realize whatever you resist will continue to exist. So the key is leaning into discomfort. It's when you're stressed out, it's acknowledging how you feel and doing positive things that will help you relieve that stress. So maybe for you, it's listen to music, maybe it's exercise, talking to a mentor, a caring friend, whatever it is, always acknowledge how you feel. Don't ignore how you feel. Secondly, is you want to make sure you gain perspective, right? Gaining perspective is so important because oftentimes when we're going through something, it's easy to think we're the only one going through it. And that's why I love the part that you decide to be part of the Student Leadership Academy and attend events like this, is because when we're by ourselves, especially with the pandemic and things being more virtual than it was previously, it's easy to feel isolated and alone. But when you connect like this and you realize, hey, I'm not the only one feeling stressed and overwhelmed, it gives you perspective on your situation that you're not alone. In addition, by connecting with other people, you might find other people going through a challenge even more intense than you. And by seeing that, what it provides you is perspective on your situation, that one, you're not alone, but two, is even though you're going through a challenging time, there's things you can still be grateful for. Lastly, number 3, decide what you want and do something about it. Life won't change by thinking positive. Life will change, though, by focusing on what you can control, which is your actions. By show of hands, virtually or physically, how many of you are still unsure of what you're going to do after finishing your time at Hostos Community College? Show of hands. All right, nice and high. There you go. So here's the thing. If you're trying to figure out next career moves, what you want to do, I realize it's like figuring out your style of clothing. Check it out. You might go to the mall, trying a shirt doesn't fit well, you put it back on the rack. You go to a different rack, you try it on, it fits well, but it's not cute. So you put it back on the rack. And what I want you to realize is that eventually, when you keep trying on outfits, eventually you'll find the right fit. And when you find that right fit, your style, you're going to get it. I want you to know it's the same thing with life. Figuring out next career path moves, what you like, is a trial and error process. But oftentimes, when life is challenging, when you got a lot on your plate, there's so many decisions you need to make, it can be difficult. So just realize whenever you're trying to make decisions, realize, hey, it's just like trying on clothes. I got to try one thing at a time. So you might find other opportunities at Hostos Community College to be more involved. Maybe it's going to a club meeting. And if you like it, continue going to that meeting. All of a sudden, you might try out a job and you like it, continue with that job. If you don't, you can stop and do something else. The key part is you got to realize it's okay to change your mind. But if you want to figure out what you want to do faster, it's simply trying on different outfits until you find that right fit. Nod your heads for me or type in Y in the chat box if that makes sense. Okay, cool. So here's the thing. Some are thinking like, oh, great, Juan. I don't have to be always positive. That is right. But here's the challenge. When life is hitting you from every angle, when you feel like, man, everything is not going right, or why is this happening to me? It's hard to change your attitude. So I want to give you a technique that will help change your attitude when times are tough. This technique, it's called changing your playlist. Check this out. Imagine that you had a really rough day. And as you're going home, whether you're taking the subway, whether you're walking home in a car, you started plugging your headphones and you're listening to music. Now, as you're listening to music, you're playing your favorite song. And let me ask you in the chat box, let me know if you're having a rough day, but your favorite song comes on. Let me know in the chat box right now, what are you about to do when you're listening to your favorite song? Be real with me now. If it's your favorite song, let me know in the chat box, what are you about to do, right? Siobhan's about to sing and dance, right? I know a lot of you are smiling now because you know you be singing and dancing too. And here's the thing is that you're vibing with the music, you're dancing, and whatever was stressing you out, it disappears because you're lost in the music. Well, imagine this. Imagine the next song is a horrible, annoying, whack song that kills the mood. Let me ask you, are you going to continue listening to this song or are you going to change your playlist? Let me know here. Are you going to continue listening or are you going to change, right? We sing next, change, sing different lyrics, change it. Well, check this out. Whether you realize it or not, we all have songs that play in the playlists in our head. But oftentimes these songs are horrible, annoying, whack songs that sound like this. There's no way you got an A in that class. You can't get an A because you're not smart enough. Oh, you into that person? Nah, they won't be into you because you're not popular enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not athletic enough. You can't do that thing because you're not something enough. And unfortunately, we're never taught how to change that whack song when it plays in our head. You see, a little bit myself, where I come from a family that escaped the Vietnam War. My dad fought as a fighter pilot alongside the United States, and when the war was over, he was forced in a re-education camp, essentially a prison, for 4 years until my mom broke him out. We fled on boat to the United States in a boat similar to this. And when we came to the United States, we lived in what was considered the top 3 most dangerous cities in the entire country. Growing up, we didn't have a lot. So I wanted to succeed to make my parents proud and so that I could take care of them. Going from high school to college, everything looked great on the surface. I was a 3.7 GPA student. I was ranked top 10 in wrestling for the state of Washington. I got accepted to go to a top 50 university in Malibu, California. I was prom king, all that stuff. What people didn't see though was oftentimes I felt depressed. Why did I feel depressed? It was because my wax song that played in my head was that I was never good enough. The reason why I would believe this was because I had a challenge. I always found myself comparing myself to other people. And then because of that, I always thought, hey, you're just never good enough. I'll give you an example. When I went to college, again, I didn't come from a wealthy background. We didn't come with a lot. So a lot of my college education came from scholarships and financial aid. I went to Pepperdine University, which majority, not all, of the students came from really well-off backgrounds. Malibu, California is a place where we had professional athletes, top CEOs of companies, actresses and actors. Their kids would go to our school. We have students there that never had a job in their life. Students there that said, I don't want to live on college campus. So the parents would buy them a place off campus. I mean, it was very different from how I grew up. And I would constantly feel out of place. And I remember while studying at school, my GPA, my grade point average, and my test scores to get in college were below the average. So oftentimes I was struggling in school. I went to tutoring, I got extra help. No matter what I did, I just didn't get it. And what was frustrating was that when I look over to the other people, it was so easy for them, yet so difficult for me. And I was thinking, Juan, what's wrong with you? All of a sudden I hear in my head, boom, Juan, it's because you're not good enough. During my second year in college, I had a chance to study abroad in Florence, Italy. On the surface, it looked amazing. But the reality is it was amazing, but it was challenging. Why? Because in going overseas, one, I felt homesick away from my family. In addition to that, I was working multiple jobs because I didn't want to borrow money from my family and feel guilty to enjoy my experience. So a lot of my jobs was like washing dishes, and I was involved in a lot of activities in school. So my plate was constantly feeling overwhelmed. And I remember one day, all the students and I, we procrastinated on a paper and we tried to pull an all-nighter to finish it off. And if you can imagine 50 students crammed into a room trying to do an all-nighter, every hour that would pass by, one student would leave and then another. By the time I got to 7 a.m. in the morning, I was the only one left. I maybe had two paragraphs written. And for me, that was the thing that broke me. I just felt so much stress that I couldn't finish this paper. And I remember every day I would avoid turning in this paper. I remember my head would be throbbing at night trying to go to bed. I just would feel this weight on me. It felt like someone took a baseball bat and just slammed it to the side of my head. And one day I was so stressed out, I was thinking I can get rid of all these emotions if I just walk completely off this bridge. The reason why I had suicidal thoughts was because I was thinking, man, I had everything in life together. And all of a sudden this happened. What's wrong with me? I instantly heard in my head, boom, Juan, it's because you're not good enough. Fortunately, there's a caring adult that reached out to me, just like the caring adults that work at Hostos Community College. And this caring adult pulled me aside. They're like, hey, Juan, what's up? I noticed something is off. And I said, man, I'm just so stressed. I just want to make my parents proud. And I just feel like I'm failing. And he said to me, Juan, the only things that parent want for their children is for them to be happy. And I'm like, no, they don't. If my parents want me happy, they would be telling me to do this. They would not be telling me to do that. They could tell me I could do this. And he stopped me. He says, Juan, I promise you as a parent, and if there are any parents on the Zoom, I'm sure you would agree, is that the only things that a parent wants is for their child to succeed and not make the same mistakes they did and to be happy in life. And then it clicked in my head, because at that moment, I took a step back and I realized my parents and I, we'd argue over a lot of things. And the reason why is because we saw a different view of success, right? For my folks, they did not have a chance to get a college education like you or myself. So for them, getting a college education was important. For them, it was setting yourself up, whether it's getting a great job, starting a business. And by doing that, you can have money. By having money, you don't have to struggle like they did. Therefore, that was success. But for me, I wanted to do something I was passionate about. And that's why we'd have these confliction. Now, I beforehand was like, you just don't understand. And I would not communicate with them. And as I shared with you earlier, whatever you resist will continue to exist. And therefore, I realized if I wanted my relationship to change with them, then I need to do something differently. So I leaned into discomfort because I didn't want this to continue to exist in my life if I kept resisting it. So I said, hey, I decided to have a courageous conversation. I said, hey, mom, dad, I know you love me, support me, but I'll tell you, what you're doing now is not supporting me. If you could support me by just cheering me on, that's what I need, right? I promise you, if it does not work out my way, I will try it your way. I just don't want to have any resentment or any regret if I don't try this. Now, our relationship did not change overnight, but the more I was willing to focus on what I could control, which was my actions, not my parents, but my actions, and I kept talking with them openly and having this crazy conversation, our relationships start to transform. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because this is only one of many wax songs, obstacles I had to overcome in my life. See, I'm curious as I share this with you, what are the wax songs? What's that negative self-talk playing in your head this year? Do you have a negative self-talk about your ability to succeed in life? Maybe for you, your negative self-talk is about developing or strengthening a certain relationship in your life. Maybe for you, it's about your finances or your physical health. Whatever it is, what I come to realize is that those songs, they were written by something that happened in our past. You see, maybe you had a setback, maybe you made a mistake, maybe someone said something mean to you, but it really stuck. Understand is that the past is the past. Unfortunately, we can't change that. What is fortunate though is you can change everything moving forward because your past does not predict your future. The mistakes that you've made do not define who you are. And your setbacks in life does not determine your future success. What does? It's anytime you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, those obstacles, when they arise in your life, it's realizing what is that song playing in your head. When it's a horrible wax song, it's making sure you change the playlist. So check this out. The next time you're feeling overwhelmed, you have that negative self-talk in your head, this is what you do. You simply say, hold up, that is whack. Some are thinking, no, Juan, whatever that was whack. I'm not doing that. And I know it's silly, but it works then for two reasons. Number one, this technique works as it's silly and it'll make you laugh. Let me know in the chat box now, why for yes and for no. When you laugh, do you feel better? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat box right now. When you laugh, you feel better. Say a lot of yeses, right? We see Layton, we see Jason, Shrike, Francine, Andre. So here's the thing. When you feel better, you think clear and make better decisions than when you're stressed out. How many here would agree? By show of hands, show of virtual hands if you're not on camera. How many would you agree when you're stressed? Sometimes you say things and you do things you do not intentionally mean. Show of hands, nice and high. I see Ruth, I see Q, I see Andre, I see Rose, right? I see Saba, Ryan, Junior. So here's the thing. When you laugh, you feel better, you think clearer, you make better decisions. The second reason why this technique works is because it is so random. It will make you temporarily forget about what's stressing you out. Specifically in behavioral psychology, it's called a pattern interrupt. I'll give you an example. Anywhere here have any parents or pet parents, right? Anyone have kids or pets? Show your hands, right? You can have the worst day ever. And all of a sudden your child comes up to you and says, I love you, right? And your heart melts. All of a sudden dog walks up, boom, face in your lap, cat curls up next to you. All of a sudden any stress you feel melts away. Think about if all of a sudden you post something on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, and all of a sudden that person that you like comments, gives you a little heart, all of a sudden, ooh, you start feeling better. Why? Because that is called a pattern interrupt. It is an external event that happens that shifts your focus to think about something else. So check this out. You can wait until something great happens in your life to help shift your focus when you're going through stress, or you can create an external stimuli to help distract you, to help you refocus. So when you say, hold up, that's whack, I know it's silly, but it's a pattern interrupt to help you get out of your head in that stressful situation. So you take a mental step back. Nod your heads for me if that makes sense. Okay, cool. So check this out. When you say, hold up, that's whack, that's you changing the playlist on Spotify. But you don't want to just change a song. You want to play a new song that you actually like. So to do that in real life, you simply say, hold up, that is whack because the truth is. Then you give yourself a reason why that negative self-talk isn't true. If you remember at the beginning, I shared with you, I had snapped my ankle the week of I was supposed to compete on American Ninja Warrior. When that happened, all this negative self-talk was in my head. Juan, you're such an idiot. How did you mess up this opportunity? You're never have a chance again. I had all these thoughts in my head, and I realized if I were to stay in that mindset, there's no way I would have competed. So I realized I had to change my playlist. So I was like, hold up, that is whack because the truth is, I eat problems like this for breakfast. Now, when I said this out loud, I was like, yeah, I do. Because in that moment, when I said this out loud, I started laughing, but then I remembered back to a time in high school, I was thinking, man, I had a wrestling injury that was way worse than this ankle injury. So if I made it through that, why can't I make it through this? You see, oftentimes when we're stressed out, the way our brain works, it is more easy to remember bad experiences in our life than good ones. And that's how our brain is wired. So that's why it's important to change your playlist. And here's the thing, I realize I don't know you personally, but what I do know is that you've been through some challenges and you've overcome some challenges in your life. Is that fair to say, yes or no? Let me ask you right now, if you do me a quick favor, let me know in the chat box, what are some things that you've overcome in your life that you're exceptionally proud of? What are some things that you've overcome where when people ask you and you share your story, people are like, oh my goodness, how did you do that? You're so strong, you're so resilient. What are some things in your life you've overcome? And go ahead and share it in the chat box. I shared with you earlier, right? Overcoming suicidal thoughts, through financial challenges, chronic health issues, death of a best friend, homelessness, depression. For all those who are sharing, thank you so much for having your courage to share. I know it's not easy, but it's so powerful. Overcoming pride, I can relate to that. Depression, death, parents' drug addiction, learning to let go of things that's unchangeable. I feel you on that one. Going back to college, moving to a new country alone. You see, I asked you to share this for this reason here. Oftentimes, when we're stressed out, we have that negative self-talk, we don't think back to all these incredible things. I shared with you earlier, it's not about being positive all the time, but it's about being honest. Part of the honesty is when you say, hold up, that is whack, and you take that mental step back, it gives you a chance to go into your long-term memory and remind all these things like overcoming domestic violence, been in college since 50s, having and loving on a child with special needs. When you say, hold up, that is whack, it gives you a mental step back so you can recall all these incredible things you share in the chat. And here's the thing is by remembering these things, you can draw on those moments for confidence. Confidence that will help you to continue to move forward in life when you feel it's too tough. That's how you develop resilience is one, it's remind yourself of what you've been through. And by reminding you of those things, it allows to gives you the energy, the strength to continue moving forward. Right? So next time you feel overwhelmed, boom, change the playlist. But here's the thing, realize is that when you change your playlist and you're like, hold up, that's whack, you got to keep playing new songs because oftentimes unconsciously we beat ourselves up. So keep playing new songs. So in my example, I was like, hold up, that's whack because I got this. Hold up, that is whack because the truth is, the bigger the setback, bring it. The bigger the comeback. And when I said these things out loud, what started to happening is that I started remembering back to all the challenges I've been through, the suicidal thoughts, the financial challenges, all these things. And by remembering these things, it gave me perspective on my situation. I was thinking, wait a minute, I've been through all of this. All I got in front of me is this ankle injury. So I was confident I could make it through. So what happened was for 3 days, I did physical therapy every single day. And after doing physical therapy, I was able to walk. And after walking, I competed on the show. I made it to the city finals, which then aired on national television. Now I'm sharing this with you, not to impress you. I'm sharing with you because this technique actually works. I don't want you to take my word for that. I want you to try it out for yourself right now. I want you to think about in this moment, what is the negative self-talk playing in your head? What is that whack song? And what I'd like you to do is I want you to go ahead and repeat after me. All right. Hold up. I'm sorry. You guys are just staring at me right now. Is there a leg on your side? Let's try that again, okay? Repeat after me. Hold up.
Hold up.
That
That's
is whack.
whack.
It's what?
I'm going to be real with you guys. That effort was whack. Be real with me now. Come on. Scale from 1 to 10. Let me know if you're on camera. Let me know on your fingers. If you're not on camera, let me know in the chat box. How would you grade yourself? 1 to 10. 10 being you gave all the energy you had. 1 being you did not even try. All right, Lane saying 10. Q saying 2. Let me know. Siobhan saying 2. Ruth saying 4. Catherine saying 5. Takia is saying 2. Sharika is saying 2. Andrew saying 5. Okay, so thank you for your honesty. Would you all agree why in the chat box for yes and for no? Could have you done better? Yes or no? Be real with me now. Yes, we're getting all yeses. Thank you for your honesty. Here's my important follow-up question. Why didn't you give it a level 10 in the first place? Some of you like, I wasn't ready. Some of you like, I'm too tired. It is too late for this. Some of you like, I came here. I'm part of the Student Leadership Academy to make friends, not lose friends. Okay, I'm not doing that. Whatever your reasoning, I'm sure it's valid. I'm sure it's true. But I've done this with elementary school kids and grown adults. And what I've known is that the reason why people don't give it a level 10 in the first place, because they feel it's silly. They might feel it's stupid. And all those are reasonings that boil down to a fear of being judged. And as all of you know, unfortunately in life, we're always going to be judged. But what is fortunate is you can let go of other people's thoughts. It's difficult though. To do that is you got to have a willingness to have courage to do the things and not care what people think. And let me give you an example. Think about all your goals this year. Think about what you want to achieve, what you want to do, what you want to experience, and who you want to become. It's all going to require you to do something differently from what you normally do. And by doing something different, it's going to be scary. But the more times you do that scary thing, you talk to that person you like, you speak up in class, you stand up for what you believe in, you try that new thing. The more you're willing to do that, the easier it's going to get. It's like the more times you grab that weight at the gym and you lift it, the stronger your muscle gets and the lighter that weight gets. And understand having courage is not about not being afraid. Being afraid is normal and so it's important. But having courage means I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyways. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to flex that muscle called courage by doing this exercise one more time. But my challenge to you is you got to give it a level 10 effort. Go ahead, show me with your body language or show me in the chat box, are you up for this challenge of doing a level 10? You guys up for that? Wow. This is Leighton right here. I said, you up for it? Leighton's like this. Your enthusiasm is overwhelming. Let me ask you again. Are you guys up for that challenge? Yes or no?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. I got more energy in your body and your voice. So here's the thing. We're going to do this exercise one more time. If you're in a quiet place, you're going to unmute yourself. Okay? If you're in a quiet place, unmute yourself. We're going to do this exercise again, but in a moment, I'm going to clap my hands. All of you will be clapping your hands too to bring up the energy into our virtual room. I want to be so loud with your hand clap. And when we do this exercise that the people around you are thinking like, what you doing? That looks like fun. I want to be a part of that. That's the type of energy I want to bring. All right. So do me a favor. If you're in a quiet place, go ahead and unmute yourself. And in a moment, we're going to clap our hands. You guys ready?
Yes.
I said, are you ready?
Energy.
Yes. we're
All
ready.
right. Do me a favor. Go ahead and clap your hands. 1, 2, 3. Stop. And I want you to go ahead and repeat after me. Hold up.
Hold up.
That
That
is whack
It's whack.
because
because
the truth is
The
truth is,
I eat
I
I eat
problems
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 for breakfast.
for breakfast.
breakfast.
I say hold up.
Hold up.
Hold up.
That
That
is whack
Is whack.
whack
because
Because
the truth is
The truth is,
the bigger
the
bigger.
the setback,
the
setback.
the bigger
the
bigger
the comeback.
the comeback.
Awesome, very good. Do me a quick favor. Go to gallery view right now. Go to gallery view for me. Go to gallery view. And I want you to put both hands out like this. And I want to give the person left and right of you a high five. Very good. Good job. Good job. Fantastic. So let me know in the chat box. Y for yes and for no. Did that feel a little silly? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat box. Yes or no. Did that feel silly? Right. We're getting a lot of yeses. Right. I see Francine, Takia, Ladifate. I see Catherine. Okay. Baum Poundy. Hopefully I pronounced that correct. Let me ask you. You feel better. That might feel a little silly. But here's the thing. I know it's silly, but it works. And I, quite frankly, I'll be real with you. I'd rather do something that makes me silly and laugh. And then after doing it, I'll be like, oh man, I feel a little better. And move on with my day than be like, I'm too cool to do this and continue feeling stressed out. You feel me? So anytime you're feeling overwhelmed, realize you just got to change your playlist, right? Be like, hold up, that's whack. And take a mental step back to give yourself perspective and to go into your long-term memory to remember the things you've overcome and to use those past experiences to give you your confidence to move forward. The second thing that will support you in your leadership journey and in life is making sure you take time to take care of your engine check light. I want you to imagine this. Let's say you go on a road trip with friends or with family and you notice your engine check light of a car is on. Let me ask you guys, let me know in the chat box right now, should you, the key word is should you continue driving or pull over? Let me know in the chat box. Should you continue driving with your car when the engine check light's on or pull over? What should you do? Let me know in the chat box right now. It should be a pretty answer, right? Jason saying pull over, Q pull over, Andre, Rhea, everybody is saying pull over. So check this out. Why is it that so many of us, when we're going throughout the year, when our personal engine check light turns on, why do we ignore those emotions and feelings and continue going on with our day, our week, our month, and our year, rather pulling ourselves over and checking up on ourselves? You see, I want you to realize is that whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, challenged, feeling stressed out, if you would keep ignoring your engine check light, like a car, you'll break down, except you'll break down physically, mentally, and emotionally. For me, to share a little bit about my story is, of how I grew up. Well, after graduating from college, I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. I knew when I was 17 that this was my outfit, and serving people this way and speaking with people and sharing practical advice that will help people in their lives. Now, here's the challenge was that after graduating from college, I worked with a corporate trainer, traveled around the country sharing practical advice from my life experiences that would help people in their business and personal lives. After a year and a half, I wrote a book called Succeeding in the Real World, What School Won't Teach You. I decided to go on my own and share my message. And at first, it was not easy. And that's how life is. If it's worthwhile, it's not going to be easy. And so when I started out speaking and I wrote this book, it looked great on the surface, right? People are like, oh, wow, you're an author, you're speaking. It's amazing. But what people didn't see behind the scenes was to get this book written, I had full time. I didn't have a job. So I went through all of my savings. After going through all my savings and then the book was written, I was thinking, oh man, all these people are going to want me to speak and share advice on their campus or the organization. But it wasn't as easy as I thought. So rather than getting a job, I started going into debt. I started using my credit cards to help keep things afloat, to live my life, to try to get things going. And eventually I reached a point where I was so overwhelmed. I started picking up random odd jobs to make ends meet. I started the year that this happened, I think it was 2009, 2010. I got a job as a census taker where I'd knock on doors, confirm how many people lived in each household. From there, I then worked part-time, doing some leadership work. I worked with Comcast cable and internet, knocking door to door, selling Comcast cable, internet, and home phone services. I did telemarketing for the Pacific Northwest Ballet. I worked as a CPR instructor. I even delivered phone books. Now, for any of you here that have no idea what a phone book is, it's this really thick book that looks like a dictionary, and it had people's home phone numbers in them when people actually had home phone numbers, right? So I did all these random odd jobs to make ends meet. And I remember I was constantly feeling stressed and overwhelmed. I felt like a huge imposter because people saw me as a successful author and speaker, but behind the scenes, these were the things I was struggling with. And I remember one day I was driving up to Seattle, and I was driving through an intersection, and then all of a sudden the light went from green to yellow. Now, let me know in the chat box right now, if you were in my shoes and the light just turned from green to yellow, what would you do? Would you pump the brakes, or would you step on the gas pedal and keep going? What would you do if you're in my situation? Let me know in the chat box right now. What would you do if the lights went from green to yellow, right? Q is responsible, responsible, slow down, brake, slow down. We got some responsible people up in here. Well, I didn't do that. I stepped on the gas pedal and I went through the intersection. And as I went through the intersection, something from my dashboard fell into my lap. And as I looked down and then I look up, I then noticed the car in front of me stopped. So I slammed on my brakes, but it was too late. What happened was I smashed into their car, and this is what my car looked like afterwards. My car was completely totaled. And I remember for me, for that part of my life, I felt like I was invincible. Right? I feel when you're in your 20s, you feel like, oh man, I'm A-okay, nothing's gonna happen to me. And this was a wake-up call to me. And it was the wake-up call of like, man, I knew I needed to make time for myself, but I kept ignoring my personal engine check light. So this was a life example to remind me of like, Juan, you got to make time for yourself. And a big lesson I learned in life is that too many people wait until disastrous things like this happen for them to change. It's like a couple in a relationship, they're about to file for a divorce and like, oh no, let's work on it now. Or all of a sudden a person has a health scare and they're like, I'm gonna clean my diet or exercise consistently. You don't have to wait until bad things happen. Sometimes it's just what happens in life, but if you can learn from other people, you can prevent that from happening. And so for me, this was my reminder of, hey, make time for myself every day. And how I do that is that I give you an example of like, we've been pushing pretty hard this week to finish another book. And I felt at the beginning of this week, my personal engine check light saying, dude, you need to make time for you. So like today, I made sure I gave myself at least 7.5 hours of sleep, because the previous couple days I haven't been. In addition to that, I used to have a morning routine where I listen to music and I sing every morning for about 15, 20 minutes. I visualize and think about all the things I'm grateful for in life, for my eyes that can see, my ears that can hear, for my beating heart that can feel. I'll journal the things I'm grateful for. So for example, this last week I had a chance to hang out with my parents for a couple of days, and I kind of journaled up like, man, I'm just really grateful to be able to hear some stories about my mom and dad, or I'm really grateful for being able to capture videos of them flirting and joking around with one another. And then from there, I think about all my goals and what's important. And I do some reading, and then I start my day. That's how I take time for me. And what I want to encourage all of you to do that will help you to thrive as leaders in school and in life is to make time for yourself. And I know what some of you are thinking now. You're like, Juan, I know I got to make time for me, but nobody got time for that. I'm too busy. You don't know my schedule. And if you're thinking that right now, let me ask you, be honest with me now. Show hands nice and high, virtually or physically. Do you brush your teeth every day? This is a no judgment zone. All right, okay, people are raising their hands. Some people are unsure because maybe some days, but here's the thing, you all brush your teeth because it's important to you. And I just want to share with you is you make time for what's important. So maybe before we hopped on Zoom, some of you had to do your hair a little bit, make yourself look all good. Or maybe for you, it's checking your social media, it's playing games, checking sports stats, whatever it is, we make time for what's important. Now, what I want to encourage you to do is say, it's okay to take time for yourself. Taking time for you does not mean you're doing anything selfish. Rather, it's the opposite. Because when you take better care of yourself, you're better able to take care of other people. And an example I'll give is think of a cell phone. How many of you, hands nice and high, virtually or physically, charge your phone every single day? How many of you guys do that? Right. People, you charge your phones every day. Here's something interesting. Sometimes people, they did a study that if someone forgot their phone or their purse or wallet at home, more people will return for their phone than their purse and wallet. That's how much people are attached to their phones. You plug your phone in every day. But here's my question: do you plug yourself in every day? Because what I want you to realize is there's no way you can give 100% of you when you're only operating on 3%. So what I want to encourage you and invite you to do is make time for yourself every day. Think about what charges you up. Right now, I like to ask you this question. We're going to play some music. I want to ask you this question. For 30 seconds, I want you to journal on your piece of paper or on your phone, wherever it is. I want you to think about what are some activities that you enjoy doing that you haven't been doing because you've been so busy. What are some things you've been enjoy doing? I want you just to write down for the next 30 seconds everything that comes to mind, the things you love and enjoy doing that recharges you. Go ahead and go.
They said you wouldn't make it so far, and ever since they said it, it's been hard. But never mind the night you had to cry, 'cause you had never let it go inside. You worked real hard and you know exactly what you want and need. So believe, and you can never give up. You can reach your goals. Just talk to your soul and say, I can, I will. I know my dreams are real. Oh yeah, I'm holding it. That's why your goals are just dancing in your soul.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. I'm seeing the chat box here. You guys are sharing a lot of things, like Leighton saying going on the treadmill. Takia's playing badminton, art. I'm curious, would anyone like to share an activity that recharges them, why it recharges them? Anyone like to share? If you'd like to share, simply raise your hand or raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you. Would anyone like to kind of elaborate more on the activity that recharges them and why it recharges them? Just raise your hands nice and high or raise your virtual hand. Would anyone like to share? Junior, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Junior, we can hear you. Before going, I'm curious, what are you studying at Hostos right now, or what do you hope to study? And then let us know, what is the activity that recharges you?
I'm a game designer. Well, I'm studying game designing. This is actually my last semester at Hostos. So I'll be getting that diploma in the next June. I think it's June. Yeah. So what I like to do is I like to play games. Actually, I really like to play games, and what really gets me going is a really good game that has good like stories. Because I like to I don't know. It's like you're playing and like 5 hours pass. You don't even know 5 hours pass. 2 minutes pass for you, but you're just so invested in that story that you see happening, and that's what gets me. That's what gets me every time I sit down. I get really invested in the story. I start speculating and stuff because I like playing a lot of games. Have you ever heard of the game Dark Souls or?
Now, is it an RPG game or is it like,
Yeah. Well,
okay,
it's kind of like that. Well, there's a new game that I'm currently playing. So it's like that. Yeah.
okay, awesome. And so when you make time to take care of yourself, whether it's playing some games where you're into it, enjoy, how does that positively impact your energy or how you interact with people?
I think as I get more creative, I don't usually have very much to talk about, but when I get into topics that I'm really passionate about, I always have something to talk about. So I guess it's that. I become a much more sociable person when
Mm,
I'm happy and I have something to talk about.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Junior, and early
Thank you.
congratulations as you prepare to finish your time.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so this is what's powerful is that I'm sure all of you can relate. When you make time for what you enjoy, when you charge yourself up, you're more fun to be around. Your energy is better. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is think about all the things you wrote down on your list or things that you shared in the chat box. Think of one of those activities, like choose one and start incorporating it on a daily basis, right? Maybe it's journaling, playing badminton, depending on the weather. Maybe it's just exercising in general. Whatever it is, I'll encourage you, just schedule time for it every day for 15 minutes for the next 7 days and see how it can transform your life. Because there's a saying, recreate our habits and then our habits create us. So one thing I started realizing is when I start making time for myself every day, I'm like, oh man, I love this. Like when I get sleep at 9 o'clock and I wake up early, when everything's quiet, I just love how quiet things are. I feel like at peace. I feel like I'm not reacting to life versus if I wake up later or I go to bed later, like things are a little off. And that's where by trying this for the next 7 days, you're going to find if there's a positive impact, keep doing it. If it's not, try a different activity. But I promise you, as you take better care of yourself, you'll be far greater able to love and take care of the other people in your life. So we talk about having an honest attitude. We talk about take care of your personal engine check light. The last thing that I believe that will help you to thrive as leaders in life is to realize that life is a team sport. Life is a team sport. One of my favorite quotes is this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go farther, go together. I know we just met this afternoon, but my hope is that you realize you are part of a significantly bigger team that's there to cheer you on. The back of your jersey will say Rose, it'll say Andre, it'll say Abdul, it'll say Annie, Saba, Takia, but the front of your jersey is Hostos Community College. Specifically, it's the Student Leadership Academy that's there to support. You are part of an incredible organization on campus. And the thing is that there's people that want to support you, like Jason and other alumni and each other. But the only way people are able to help is if you're first willing to reach out for help. And so for me, when I think life is a team sport, there's a lot of things I've been able to experience, to do, to learn. And it's not because of my single efforts. It's because of all these people who poured into me. I don't believe there's self-made individuals. I believe that we are a collective of the people who've interacted with us. Now, a person who says, I've been self-made, there's someone that still impacted them, whether in a negative way to them think I'm gonna want to be like that, or someone who helped them in passing. And realize you can do a lot on your own, but you can do so much more if you're willing to reach out to others and have the right people in your life. And for me, I believe there's 3 relationships that will help you to succeed. I call it my 3 M's. And what they stand for is mentors, mates, and mentees. Mentors are people who will believe in you when you stop believing yourself. These are individuals who've been on the other side of the mountain, meaning whatever you want to do, they've done it. And they can give you advice to help you get there faster, to prevent heartache. You want these people in your life. This is one of the people in my life. His name is Barry. He's considered one of the top financial planners in the entire country. And more importantly, is he's just an incredible human being. I remember when my senior year, I get a phone call from my mom, and she's crying because my brother is in gambling debt. Being the loving parents my parents are, they paid off his gambling debts by taking their fully paid home, refinancing, taking money out to pay it off, only for him to rack it back up. Eventually, it came to a point where he lost his home, had no money, and it was really difficult for me because at the time, I worked as a corporate trainer speaking with different individuals. To give you some idea, I remember I was helping these 2 individuals. One, this guy was getting ready to retire. He was like 35 years old. He owned like 30 homes across the country. He owned a mortgage company. And then in 2008, there's a huge market crash and he lost all of his homes. right? So I was like coaching, helping them through this. On the flip side, there's this woman I was talking to where I spoke with this organization, and later I found out that she's like, yeah, my house is an absolute chaos. And the reason why is my husband's gone. He's a part of the military services. He's overseas right now, and he is part of the bomb squad. So I don't know if he's going to come back alive. And I was supporting her, give her some strategies and advice. And what was difficult for me was that I was helping these individuals, but I couldn't help my own brother. And that was a very deep pain in my life, because I'm thinking, why is everything, or why can I help everyone, but not the person I want to help the most? And what was also difficult for me is to see my parents go through the idea of like, what did they do wrong when they didn't do anything wrong? And as I was going through this, that mentor, Barry, he's like, Juan, I want you to know that you got this and I'm here for you. And I knew what he was going to say, but just hearing it from someone that I looked up to, a mentor that I admired, that have been through many different challenges in life, it made a huge difference. So I'm curious, who are the mentors in your life that you can turn to, that you can get perspective and guidance from? People that can believe in you when you stop believing in yourself. If you need a mentor, right, reach out to your amazing alumni work. Reach out to the amazing resources you have at your campus, because there's people that want to help, and a mentor is very important. The second relationship, the second M, is having mates, or having mates is a peers. It's like having people that can relate to you. For me, I'll give you an example. I have 3 best friends from college. When life gets challenging, I reach out to them. And the reason why it's so important is because they get what I'm going through. We have 3 best friends. We met up every single year since we graduated. One, he has 2 kids, teenage years. One has 2 kids, they're very young. My wife and myself, we don't have children yet. We'll hope to have some children soon. And our friend who's single. What happens is, by having friends that are in the same stage in life, they understand what you're going through, and they can give you perspective from someone that understands you. So having mates or peers is important. And then lastly is having mentees. Mentees are people that you can help, who are going through a challenge that you've been through yourself, right? For me, I was part of a lot of different organizations where I was able to mentor student leaders. And what I've come to realize is that when you mentor or help others, you feel better. And what's interesting, when you feel better and you go back to what's challenging you, you have a fresh set of eyes, or because you feel better, you can think clearer and come up with different ideas for your challenge that's in front of you. So make sure you have mentors, mates, and mentees on your team. The challenge, though, is that for many people, they have a difficulty asking for help. I know I was in that boat. And the reason why is because I felt that I had to pretend I had everything together. And that is, in a way, self-sabotaging. I think one of the most important things to realize is that negative self-talk, oh man, if I need help, then something's wrong with me. No, when you ask for help, it shows you're strong, because it takes courage to ask for help. I think one of the most important traits as leaders is to make sure you're vulnerable. You're willing to, in a way, just be human, right? We all go through challenges. And the reason why I shared my personal struggles with you guys is because that's just a part of my life. But what I've come to realize is the more I'm willing to share, then the more people can relate to that, because that's the authentic piece of our lives. Putting on a front, pretending everything's okay, it may make a person feel good, but no one can relate to that. And that's why being vulnerable is so important, but it can be very challenging. But if it's challenging, that's why you should embrace and do it. I'll give you a story of how impactful vulnerability is, where this is a picture I'm going to share with you. This is a picture of my mom and my dad. We're very close. And my dad and I were very similar in the sense where when we interact with each other, like, we rarely share emotions. My mom, she's very affectionate, so I feel comfortable being affectionate. My dad, it's like, hey, we're men. And I remember one day my dad, he asked me, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you take my music from my iPod and put it on my iPhone for me? I'm like, yeah, no problem, Dad. A couple weeks go by, and he asked me, hey, did you have a chance to do it yet? I'm like, Dad, I've been super busy. I'm sorry, I've been traveling. It's been really tough. And I can tell he's disappointed, upset. He's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll do it myself. I had the audacity to get upset at him. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it right now. And as I go try to do it, I'm having all these challenges because I use a PC. And so I plugged in his phone and his iPod, and I was thinking, man, like, should it be easy as you just click on the files and drag it over? But that's not the case. So it took me like an hour. I was so frustrated. I eventually went online and I paid like $20 for the service to transfer the music over. And as I took his phone and his iPad and I was coming up to him, as I was getting ready to give it to him, I just felt this huge sense of embarrassment. And the reason why is because, man, I am very blessed and fortunate to come from an incredible family, incredible parents. My dad, he is a single income provider for our family for the majority of my life. He was part of everything in life. He's at all my sporting events, whatever I needed, he's always do. He was that person where he'd wake up at 5 in the morning, go to work, come home. After a long day at work, he'd help out the house. He'd help my mom cook, mow the lawn. If things would break, he'd fix toilet, fix cars, you name it. He'd learn all these things like pre-YouTube, where he could look things up. He'd learn it on his own. Incredible husband, incredible father figure. And I remember one of my favorite memories is as a kid, I would love McDonald's French fries. I still do, I'm not gonna lie. But I would call my dad. And I'm like, Dad, can you do me a favor? Can you buy me some McDonald's French fries? His response was always, I'll do my best. I can't promise. But every single time I'd call, when he'd come home, ring the doorbell, and I open the curtain, I'd see the McDonald's French fries bag. He would always show up in my life. And I was thinking this moment, like, man, all he asked me to do was to transfer music over. And it took me 3 weeks and him reminding me. So I was so embarrassed. So as I was giving him his iPod and his phone, I said, Dad, I want to apologize for taking so long to do this. You've been in my life, present, and you've done everything I've asked you to do. You dropped things to do things for me. And I apologize for taking so long to do this for you. Thank you for always being there for me. And I apologize again for taking so long to do this. He looks at me and he replies by saying, okay. I'm like, for real, bro? I just opened my heart out to you. That's all I get. A couple of days passed by and I was visiting my parents and he asked me, hey, make sure to bring this for me, right? And I told him yes. And he even sent me a text message to remind me. And when I got to their place, my dad asked me, hey, did you bring this thing for me? And I'm like, oh, Dad, I totally forgot. And he's like, really? I even reminded you and you still forgot? I texted you. And I'm like, oh man, it's been a long couple of days. I've been traveling. The next morning, he comes up to me and he says, hey, Juan, I just want to apologize for overreacting the other day. I'm sure you're just really tired from traveling. I know you didn't mean to forget, and I want to apologize for getting totally upset at you. The reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because my dad and I would have never had a conversation like this in the past because we were men. We couldn't share emotion. But as I shared with you earlier, is that whatever you resist will continue to exist. If you resist being vulnerable because you're afraid, there's no way that the relationship can get deeper if both people are not willing to lean into that scary feeling. Understand, like courage, vulnerability is also a muscle that you can develop. It's not going to be easy, but the more you're willing to have that courage to be vulnerable, the easier it's going to get. And what I've realized is that when you're willing to be real, to be vulnerable, when you're willing to lower your walls, what happens is other people feel comfortable then to lower their walls. See, if I focus on my dad being like, oh man, he needs to act this way. Number one is I can't control my dad. You can't control other people. That's a guaranteed way to feel frustrated when you focus on things that you can't control. Oh man, what's the deal with this mask situation? Like, do I have to keep wearing that? If you're gonna focus on things like when it's gonna end, it's a guaranteed way to always be frustrated. Versus focus on what you can control, which is you. In the situation, I was willing to be vulnerable. And because of that, my dad felt comfortable to be vulnerable with me. And I feel that was a massive turning point in our relationship because we're willing to be real as men. And so as I share this story with you, I want you to think about for yourself, who in your life would you like to be more vulnerable with? What is a relationship in your life, whether with a parent, a child, a family member, a significant other? Who in your life would you like to be closer with or be more vulnerable with? Let me ask you a question further, is that what would you want to share with them? Whoever came to your mind, I would encourage you and invite you to have a conversation with them. Maybe it's via FaceTime, in person, maybe it's sending a text message, but rather than focusing on what they can do, focus on what you can do and realize there's different ways that you can be vulnerable. And I want to share 4 of them with you and what I believe are the easiest to the most difficult, right? Number 1, being vulnerable is just giving someone praise. Maybe there's someone in your life that does so much for you. And maybe it's just saying, wow, you are so incredible. I have no idea how you balance all these things in your life. You're absolutely amazing. And I just want you to know that. And it's sending that text message out or giving a phone call and just expressing that. Another way to be vulnerable is asking for help. I was the type of person where I had everything together. I was the person that had to help other people. But what happens is this, when you think about helping and ask for help, it's kind of like a gift, right? If you're always helping others and you're not allowing them to help you, it's like you're always giving gift to people and you're not giving them the ability to give that gift back to you. So maybe for you, being vulnerable is asking that individual for some help. Number 3, maybe it's apologizing for something that you said or did, whether it was intentional or not. One of my friends, Dr. Mara Cullen, she shares this great perspective when you think about arguments, right? Or people getting upset, especially in a relationship. It's like intent and impact. There's a lot of times people say, well, I didn't intend to hurt you. I didn't intend that to come across that way. Well, guess what? It still came across that way. Your intention was not bad, but the impact still hurt. And so Dr. Mara Cullen gave a great example. It's like if I accidentally like stepped on your toes and it really hurt, it's like, oh, I didn't realize I was focused on this thing. I actually stepped backwards and stepped on. Well, even though it was an accident, had no ill will, I still stepped on your foot and it still hurt you. Therefore, I should apologize for that. So maybe for you, maybe it's apologizing for something that was done in the past, something said when it was a heated conversation. And the last thing I feel that takes the most energy or the most challenging is maybe it's forgiving somebody. One thing I learned about forgiveness through a mentor in life, she said, I liked her definition. She said that forgiving somebody, number 1, does not mean that you condone the action. But more importantly, forgiving is something for you to let go of something. So she said, forgiving is acknowledging that something has happened, but then making the decision, I'm going to continue on with life. I'm not going to stay in this emotion or thought anymore, right? And it's really difficult. Now, for me, forgiving my brother, it was a process because this gambling addiction lasted, it felt like 10 years. Maybe it was like 5 to 8, but it felt like eternity. And it felt like our family is being torn from the inside out. I remember it was very difficult to forgive. But the idea is like, again, forgiving is not saying like, oh, it's okay that happened. No, it's just saying, this is what's happened and I'm going to move forward in life. So these are a handful of different ways to be vulnerable, and realize when you interact with people, you can choose how vulnerable you can be. You don't have to share everything that's happened in your life or a really big struggle you're going through, but you can still be human with every person you interact with by showing that, you know what, you're not perfect. So understand is that when you want to thrive as leaders, you want to succeed in life, it comes down to having an honest attitude, right? You don't have to be perfect all the time. 2 is take care of your personal engine check light, making sure you recharge yourself every day. And then lastly, it's realizing, hey, life is a team sport. You're not in this by yourself. And it's making sure that you reach out and you're vulnerable so you can ask for help. Now, as our time winds down, I want to open up to the floor to any questions or thoughts. Why? Because in doing this for so many years with Jason and with the Student Leadership Academy, this is not about me. I've been fortunate enough to be able to, with my schedule, everything allows to come back to serve every year. But I want to open up the floor to any questions or thoughts, things we didn't cover, or just whatever's on your mind or heart. Because if I never have a chance to see you again, I want to make sure that I do everything humanly possible to be able to support you and for you to feel that our time was worthwhile. So if you have a question, you can send me an anonymous message if there's something that's anonymous that you want to ask, or if you have a question you'd like to ask out loud, just raise your hand or raise your virtual hand. This can be about anything you want. This is a no holds bar. You can ask me about marriage, relationship stuff, finance stuff, health, whatever you want, whatever supports you. So if you have a question, either you can send via chat box, can be anonymous, or you can raise your hand and ask the question out loud. So if you have a question, please feel free, raise your hand, raise your virtual hand, or send me a message. Any questions or thoughts before we end our time here together? Yeah, so the question, Vakia, does that mean the Lay's chip bag? That is me, right? So if you missed at the beginning, I had an opportunity to partner with Lay's in 2020, like at the beginning, right at the beginning of the pandemic, right? March is when it happened. That's when, and then the bags came out in September of that year. We partnered with Lay's. I was one of the first people to be selected. People were making a difference in their community around the world. And it helps to spread smiles during that time. And part of the proceeds went to Operation Smile. So this is what the bag looked like, where, that's my smile, and the bag, it has like a picture of me and it shares my story. So I was fortunate to be on, I think 5 different flavors. So yeah, so we posterized it on there as something to remember of a cool thing we have a chance to do. Any other questions or thoughts? Are there private questions you want to ask out loud? Christina, thank you so much for the kind words via chat box. We're glad you feel it's been one of the best workshops you've attended. Glad you got value out of this. Any other questions or thoughts before we end our time here together? You can let me chat box, or you can simply raise your hand or virtual hand and I'll call on you.
I just wanted to say that you did an excellent job, and I've known you and last seen you in person when I attended one of your workshops before I graduated from Hostos, and you are doing a great job. You really you get people engaged in your workshops. So I just want to applaud you for that. Thank you.
That's what's up, Andre. Thank you so much for the kind words, and thanks for coming back and being a part of this. Thank you so much. Any other questions, thoughts, comments before we wrap up? Yeah, Quay. Is it Quay or Q?
Q.
Q.
So this was very inspirational. I got a lot from it. The main thing I got from it is to, cherish the little things. Sometimes, we don't take out the time to cherish, those little things that we have. And, sometimes those little things could be our parents. And, for me, I have experience, not always getting along with my mother and not always seeing eye to eye with her. But the main thing that I've learned, and I'm going to still try to continue doing, is try to learn to accept when I'm wrong. Sometimes I don't like to accept when I'm wrong, and I like to, point the finger at her or try to find things that happen in my life and try to put it at her instead of saying, okay, it's not her, it's you. So I'm going to try to learn to be more upfront about my emotions with her. So, yeah.
That's what's up. Thanks, Q, for sharing. And thanks for, dude, Q's joining. Are you in the subway right now?
Huh?
Are you in the subway?
No, I'm on the bus. I jumped from the laptop to the phone.
That's what's up, man. That's commitment. So, one, thank you for joining us. And thank you for kind of sharing your takeaways from our time together. Awesome. Other questions or thoughts before we finish our time here together? Awesome. So that's all I'm saying. I'm gonna say this is that if I can be of, oh, there's somebody.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for reiterating the fact that we need to self-care, take more care of ourselves whenever we are overwhelmed, or it's vitally important, because having a positive mind and a good, strong mental base carries you far and keep you healthy. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is it Sharike?
Sharik.
Is that your kids in the background, Sharik?
Yeah. Just arrive and start causing I'm back.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate all you do. Awesome. Any other questions or lasting thoughts before we round out our time together?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead. Is it Abby?
Yes, Abby. I
Okay.
just wanted to say, it's crazy how you're a stranger and most of us here don't even know each other. But in some way, like you uplifted us and made us remember that even through like tough obstacles, things do get better. And like sometimes during the week and even the month, like you start like, overthinking and piling up stuff. And then like you just need someone to remind you that, oh yeah, like don't worry, like things are gonna get better. And I feel like that's what you just did. And I really do appreciate that. Cause like now I feel recharged and like I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get back to what I was doing, keep going, because it's always gonna get better. Even though the setback, maybe what you said, the bigger the setback, the bigger the comeback. I like that. That's the greatest quote I've ever heard. Thank you so much.
Abby, well, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm glad that you're able to join us. You got some value out of it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Awesome. Any other thoughts or questions before we finish our time?
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah, Rand, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I must say I really enjoyed this session. And it really means a lot. Like when you had talked about, the way you were brought up and the way you came from Vietnam and the struggles and how life was like, it completely reflects of how I grew up and where I came from as well. And it was an awesome session, and I really love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you
Good
so much
job.
for the kind words, Rand. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us while on the run. Awesome. Great, guys. Well, before we end our time here, I'm going to end with this. If I can be of any support for you, feel free. You can stay connect with me. Here's my social media information, my website. Currently, man, we had someone hack our Facebook, so we're still trying to restore our Facebook and Instagram. Feel free to reach out to me if I could be of any support. I'd love to help you out any way I can. Feel free to reach out. Currently, Twitter or LinkedIn, but eventually Facebook and Instagram. That's my info. As we finish our time here, I want to end with this. I got two $1 bills, right? These two $1 bills represent us as leaders. I believe your ability to succeed as leaders on your campus and in life, it doesn't come down to your age, your skin color, your background. What it does come down to is how you handle adversity in your life. Realize your ability to succeed. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being honest, because that's more practical. Acknowledge how you feel, gain perspective, decide what you want and do something about it. Change your playlist by saying, hold up, that's whack. Realize you don't have to go 100% all the time. You got to take care of your personal engine check light, recharge yourself, take care of you, because in doing so, you're better able to take care of others. Lastly, is realizing we're in this together. Life's a team sport. You can go fast alone, but as the African proverb says, you can go farther together. And the key is being vulnerable, being willing to ask for help. If you're willing to apply the things that we share in our time together, I believe your ability to succeed as those leaders will increase 5, 10, or possibly 100-fold. Guys, my name is Juan Doe. You can also call me the Magic Wand. No, I'm kidding. That's all I got magic-wise, but it was such an awesome hangout with you guys. Thank you so much. Jason, if you have any lasting words, please feel free to hop on.
Yeah, Juan, I want to thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You're always an inspiration, and I was so happy to meet you. 6-7 years ago when we started to have a conversation, when Joshua Fredenberg, who's coming up in a couple of weeks, introduced us, and your story, the way that you share of yourself, your personal reflections on life, and how they reach our students is extraordinary. I've been reading the messages in the chat, and people just like demanding that you have to come back, that they're touched, that you've made an impact on them. I really want to thank you for being here, and ask everybody to give you, a virtual, real life applause, however you do that. And I have a great love for you. a great appreciation for you. I love watching your story, you and your wife, and the things that you post in social media. I'm always enthusiastic about seeing how far you're going and how successful you become. And I wish you nothing but the best along your journey. We love you at Hostos. We look forward to a time when you're in our presence again, face to face. But the fact that you've taken time out of your schedule to make time for us in this virtual environment, I think we all really appreciate it. And so thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I want to thank Siobhan, who's been doing all of the heavy lifting behind the scenes. That took a lot off my plate today. Thank you, Siobhan. Always good to see you. And thank you for all the thoughts that you shared in the chat. And I just want to say to everybody, these workshops are about empowering you. I heard Abby was saying that this gave her the spurt to like move forward, like to have the energy. And somebody said that they were going into their exam after this workshop fully energized and ready to take it on. And that's what these workshops are about. These workshops are about empowering you, about giving you the support that you need, about giving you inspiration. It's not about one person or another. It's about the brilliant people who come and join us to try to share their insights, their experiences, their mentorship with you, so that you guys, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, can take on the world out there, the challenges, and also pursuing your dreams and going after the things that you love and you want to pursue in your life. Remember, leadership is not about a particular position. It's about a particular mindset. It's about making sure that you are making the best inroads in the world to make it a better place. And that can be like Sharik is taking care of her children, or that can be like Andre is taking on a new leadership role at Lehman College, or it's like any of you and all of you are taking on leadership positions in your life, in your community, and at Hostos Community College. And I'm proud to be associated with you. And as some will tell you, it is only a simple ask for you to have me serve in any capacity that I can for you, whether it's a letter of recommendation or taking a phone call on your behalf for a job or helping you to get that scholarship that you're looking for or transfer to that college that you want to go to. I'm here. That's my purpose. Once you sign on that dotted line and say you want to be a part of this volunteer organization, you get the benefits of knowing me and getting to know these wonderful people like Wando and Joshua Fredenberg and Regina Harmony Jones is coming next week, and all of the other folks who will be joining us over the next few weeks as we move towards May. And I have exciting news for you. This will be the last thing that I say before we say have a good weekend. At this point, we are looking good for our annual retreat. I know you are saying, what's in person? Really? People together? I want you to think about it as we move towards May. May 13th to 15th, we're working on it, planning to go out to the woods in New Jersey to do team building challenges, to climb high ropes, to climb a 60-foot climbing wall, to do some boating and some archery, have a campfire and s'mores, do this crazy scavenger hunt that I like to have. So I'm really excited about that. We're looking forward to having 46 people go. A secret tip to everybody who's here right now, in the last email that I sent to you, at the very bottom of the email is the registration link for that. I'll be announcing it as we go forward. I want you to think about it. I know a lot of people have a lot of considerations in the pandemic world, but as things start to clear up, as the world starts to loosen up, as restrictions start to go away a little bit, and we are all a little healthier and we're not facing as much of a pandemic, I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. I can't guarantee that it's going to happen today, but I'm telling you that we have put everything into place to make it so. And if you don't know what the retreat is about, you can visit our YouTube channel and see all of the videos from the previous retreats pre-pandemic. And Andre's on here. You take his email right now because he was the chair a couple years back and knows all about the retreat and can tell you about it. So just a little exciting idea for the future that's coming down the road, and I hope some of you are excited about that. and we'll think about putting yourself on the registration link. Nothing is written in stone, so if you register and you don't want to go, that's okay too. But just so that you know, there's some things coming down the road, and I hope you're excited about it. And that being said, I want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Siobhan. I really enjoyed this workshop. I hope you enjoyed it. It's lovely to see you all, and I look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to do some self-reflection and some healing with Harmony next week. So please be here for that. She's a wonderful person and has a lot of ideas on how to take care of yourself, because as Juan said today, you have to take that moment. You have to take that deep breath. You have to take time for yourself to actually, be the best that you can be. And as we pursue all the things that the Leadership Academy does for Hostos Community College, for our CUNY, and for our community, you need to be the best that you can be. And so, having that time to sort of heal internally is a great thing. And so please join us next week for that. And that being said, I want to say bye, and I like to say goodbye to everybody: Sharik, Leighton, Andre, Rhea, Q, Francine, Takia, Rose, Ruth, Christina, Junior, Abdul, Sabrina.
Bye, everyone. Be well. Happy Friday.
Bye, guys. Enjoy your
Bye,
weekend.
everybody. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Take care, everybody. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.